Scotty Kilmer says CVTs are junk. And if you've seen enough blown transmissions and $5,000 repair bills, it's easy to see why he thinks that. But is he actually right, or just stuck in the past? In this video, we're finally explaining the full story behind CVTs. We'll take a look at what Scotty gets right about these transmissions, what he completely misses, and the critical details most people don't even think about. What even is a CVT? First up, what exactly is a CVT? Imagine driving a car that never actually shifts gears. No jerky transitions, no clunk, just smooth, continuous acceleration like you're riding a wave. That's what a CVT, or continuously variable transmission, is built to do. Now, instead of using fixed gears like first, second, third, and so on, a CVT uses a pair of cone-shaped pulleys connected by a steel belt or chain. These pulleys adjust their width depending on how fast you're going, constantly shifting the gear ratio in real time to keep the engine in its sweet spot. No steps, no interruptions, just a seamless range of motion that technically gives you infinite gear ratios. Think of it like riding a bike with a magic gear that adjusts itself automatically without you touching anything. This design comes with some serious advantages. For one, fuel efficiency is often better because the engine doesn't have to rev up and down through gears. It stays in the most efficient RPM range. Also, acceleration feels buttery smooth, especially at lower speeds, which is why many CVTs are used in commuter cars and hybrids. But this smoother ride comes with some trade-offs. Enthusiasts say they feel rubbery or slushy, and if you've ever floored it in a CVT, you've probably heard that loud engine drone. Like the car's trying to accelerate, but not in a way that feels strong or sporty. And the biggest downside? We'll get to that, but let's just say Scotty Kilmer has some strong opinions, and he's not wrong about everything. Why Scotty is right. Let's give credit where it's due. Scotty Kilmer isn't just ranting to hear himself talk. He's been working on cars for over 50 years. And when it comes to CVTs, especially the ones from the early 2000s and 2010s, he's got some legitimate bones to pick. Let's start with the elephant in the garage, Nissan's Jatco CVTs. For years, Nissan bet big on CVTs, putting them in nearly everything from Altimas, Rogues, Sentras, and even the Pathfinder. But instead of being praised for innovation, they earned a reputation as some of the most failure-prone transmissions in the industry. Overheating, slipping, shuddering, delayed engagement, and even complete transmission failure before 100,000 miles. And it wasn't rare, it was rampant. Thousands of drivers reported these issues, and eventually lawsuits followed. Nissan had to extend warranties and cough up millions in settlements. But the damage to their reputation? That stuck. You'll still find countless horror stories online from owners who had to shell out $4,000 to $6,000 to replace their CVT, sometimes more than once. And many of these CVTs weren't even rebuildable. You couldn't just crack them open and fix a worn part. You had to replace the whole unit. Scotty calls that a money pit, and he's not wrong. But Nissan wasn't the only offender. Ford got into trouble too with their CVTs in the Ford Freestyle and 500. Jeep had issues with CVTs in the Compass and Patriot. Even Subaru, while better now, had rocky years with their Lineartronic CVT, especially before 2015. And this brings us to a bigger pattern that mechanics like Scotty see all the time. These transmissions weren't just new, they were fragile, sealed, and unfriendly to repair. Unlike a traditional automatic or manual transmission where a shop could pull it apart, swap out parts, and rebuild it, most CVTs were like a black box. Once they failed, it was game over. From a business standpoint, that's great for dealerships. You come in with a slipping CVT and they tell you, "We don't repair these, we replace them." Cue the $5,000 invoice. So when Scotty says CVTs are junk, he's not pulling that out of thin air. He's seen what happens when a bad CVT design meets poor maintenance and a lot of city driving. It's not pretty. He's talked to the people stuck with their repair bills that exceed their car's value. And from his perspective, that makes them a bad idea, period. Another big issue? Overheating. CVTs rely heavily on transmission fluid, not just for lubrication, but for cooling. Push them hard and you risk overheating. Once that happens, metal components can wear down fast. And because many cars with CVTs don't come with external coolers, there's nothing to protect them during those extreme conditions. Kilmer often calls out manufacturers for claiming their CVTs have lifetime fluid, which sounds great until the transmission fails at 90,000 miles because the fluid degraded, and no one told you to change it. He argues that this marketing gimmick lulls owners into skipping vital maintenance. And by the time symptoms show up, it's usually too late. And you know what? A lot of mechanics agree with him. Spend 5 minutes in a shop that deals with Nissan CVTs, and you'll hear the same story. Unserviceable, can't rebuild, just replace the whole thing. Hope you've got a warranty. Why he's wrong. Now here's where things get interesting. While Scotty Kilmer is absolutely right about the early CVTs, especially the Nissan disasters and sealed for life scams, he's also painting with way too broad a brush. Not every CVT is a ticking time bomb. In fact, some of them are surprisingly solid, reliable, even smartly engineered. Let's start with two names Scotty rarely gives enough credit to: Toyota and Honda. These two automakers didn't just slap CVTs into their cars to save gas. They engineered them properly, testing them over millions of miles, and most importantly, they learned from everyone else's failures. Take Toyota's K-Series Direct Shift CVT. It might sound like marketing fluff, but this thing is actually clever. Unlike older belt-only systems, it combines a traditional physical first gear with a CVT pulley system. That means you get strong initial acceleration like a normal automatic, and then it seemingly switches over to CVT mode for better fuel efficiency. So you don't get that rubber band feeling. You get punch off the line and smooth cruising. Best of both worlds. Toyota put this setup in the Corolla, CHR, and several Lexus hybrids. And guess what? Mechanics and owners aren't complaining. You don't see mass recalls. You don't hear about wave after wave of transmission failures. Because Toyota did it right. Their hybrid models, like the Prius, use an eCVT, which isn't even a traditional belt and pulley system. It's a planetary gear-based transmission using electric motors to vary speed. These have been on the road since the late 90s and are some of the most bulletproof transmissions ever made. There are Priuses out there with 300,000 miles still running on their original eCVT. No slipping, no overheating, no drama. Now let's talk about Honda. Their CVTs have been getting steadily better every generation. The early CVTs in the 2013 to 2014 Accords had some minor issues, sure. But from 2015 onwards, the reliability curve bent upwards. Their CVTs are chain-driven instead of belt-driven, meaning less stretching over time and better durability under load. And just like Toyota, Honda made sure the transmission talked properly to the engine with refined software and well-mapped torque curves. The result? Hondas with CVTs don't just lay, they actually drive decently too. You can find Civics with over 200,000 miles still running on the original transmission. No drama, no warning lights, just basic fluid changes. So when Scotty says never buy a car with a CVT, he's ignoring the very real progress that's been made. CVTs today aren't the same as the ones from 15 years ago. The best ones, usually found in Toyota and Honda hybrids and compact cars, are quiet, efficient, and yes, reliable. Another thing Scotty is missing out on is the fact that technology has caught up. A big part of the problem in the early days was that the technology just wasn't there yet. The belts weren't strong enough, the fluid chemistry couldn't keep up, the software was crude. But that's changed. Today, CVTs use metal chains instead of rubber or soft belts. They have dedicated coolers, smarter sensors, and more responsive control modules that adjust how the transmission behaves based on how you drive. Some even fake shift points to make the driving feel more natural, which solves that droning issue a lot of people complained about. And CVT fluids? The good ones now have high temperature tolerances, better shear resistance, and additives designed to reduce internal wear. With a proper maintenance schedule, modern CVTs can go 150 to 200,000 miles without major issues. Even aftermarket support has gotten better. You can now buy CVT fluid exchange machines, install auxiliary coolers, and even find transmission shops that specialize in repairing certain CVTs. That was not the case back when Scotty first started warning people about them. There's another thing worth pointing out here. One of Scotty's biggest criticisms is that CVTs are sealed, unserviceable, and non-rebuildable. And yeah, some of them still are, especially the cheap ones, but that's not the full picture anymore. More and more CVTs now come with drain plugs, dipsticks, or at least service ports for fluid exchanges. And as the technology matures, specialized rebuild kits are starting to pop up for certain models. Transmission repair shops are adapting. It's kind of like when hybrid batteries first came out and everyone said, "You can't fix those, they'll cost 10 grand to replace." Fast forward 10 years and now you've got local shops rebuilding Prius batteries for a few $100. Same deal with CVTs. Give it time and the support is catching up. So when Scotty says all CVTs are garbage, He's not telling the whole story. He's telling the early 2000s story, the Nissan story, the Ford Freestyle story. But he's missing the quiet success story, and he needs to start talking about that also. What most people miss. So we've talked about why Scotty's right, and why he's also kind of stuck in the past. But here's the thing most people tend to overlook. This conversation isn't just about what kind of CVT you have. It's about how you drive it, how you maintain it, and how it was engineered in the first place. Because not all CVTs are created equal, and not all drivers treat their cars the same way. Let's start with something simple. How you drive can make or break a CVT. CVTs are designed for smoothness. They like gentle acceleration, steady cruising, and calm commutes. But what happens when someone tries to drive it like a sports car? Constantly flooring it off red lights, hard braking, aggressive lane changes, riding the throttle? You get overheating, you get belt slippage, you get premature wear on internal components, and eventually you get a big repair bill. It's not that CVTs are inherently weak, it's that many drivers treat them like they're a regular geared transmission. But they're not. They require a slightly different mindset. Scotty might say CVTs are junk because he's seen dozens of them fail. But how many of those failures were helped along by aggressive drivers who didn't know or care how to treat a CVT? There's also the issue of design and software. The way a CVT is programmed and constructed makes a huge difference in how it performs. You can take two CVTs from the same year, one from a low-budget compact car, the other from a hybrid built by Toyota, and they'd feel and behave completely differently. Why? Because one uses cheap materials, outdated software, and minimal testing. The other uses reinforced metal chains, smart control modules, and precise calibration between the engine and transmission. In fact, one of the most overlooked aspects of CVT reliability is software tuning. When a manufacturer takes the time to properly calibrate how the transmission responds to throttle input, engine load, and road conditions, the result is a smoother and more durable experience. But when they cut corners, you get jerky starts, laggy throttle, or constant hunting for the right ratio, all of which put stress on the system over time. So when someone says CVTs suck, what they often mean is this CVT was poorly made, and that's a big distinction. Now let's talk about maintenance, because this is a huge blind spot for both casual drivers and even some dealers. A lot of CVTs, especially those from Nissan, Subaru, and even early Toyota models, were marketed with lifetime transmission fluid. That sounds great, right? One less thing to worry about. Except it's not true, at least not in practice. CVT fluid breaks down over time. It gets contaminated with metal particles. It loses its viscosity and cooling properties. And once that happens, internal components start to wear out silently. You don't get a warning light until the damage is already done. Scotty harps on this a lot, and he's right to, because what most drivers don't realize is that changing your CVT fluid every 50 to 60,000 miles can literally double the life of your transmission. That's not an exaggeration. That's a fact supported by tons of anecdotal and shop-level evidence. The sad part is many dealerships will tell you not to do it, either because they believe the lifetime fluid myth themselves, or because they know a CVT failure down the road means a big replacement bill and maybe even a new car sale. Cooling upgrades and tuning myths. Let's touch quickly on a couple more points people miss. Cooling upgrades. If you live in a hot climate or you do a lot of hill driving or towing, adding an external transmission cooler to your CVT can make a big difference. It's a common trick among off-roaders and heavy-duty drivers, and it applies here too. Aftermarket tuning. While not all CVTs are tuner-friendly, some platforms like Subarus and certain Hondas can actually benefit from light tuning to improve throttle response and shift behavior. Just don't go crazy. The goal is better drivability, not turning your hybrid into a drag racer. Bottom line, if you treat a CVT like it's a fragile little machine that needs a bit of care, it'll reward you with smooth, quiet miles for years. But if you ignore maintenance, drive it like a sports car and expect it to behave like a regular transmission, well, don't be surprised if it lets you down. This is where Scotty's black and white take falls short. CVTs are not all bad or all good. They're a tool, and like any tool, they work best when used the right way.